Welcome back to Sandhurst 2022. My name is Cadet Noah Kim, and this is Cadet Seth Bolton, and we're here at the Marne Obstacle Course. So just to give an audience back home what's a little situation recap of what's going on, the top 5 teams from the day one activities are the United States Air Force Academy, the United States Military Academy Gold Team, the Black Team, and the University of North Georgia takes 4th, and BYU takes 5th. So right now we're at the Marne Obstacle Course. You want to walk through it a little bit, Seth?
Yeah, so first of all, we start at the Tarzan Obstacle Course. Then after that, the teams have to navigate their way through somewhat of a series of events to come up here, do the swing, stop, and jump, and then they'll finish down here at the reverse climb. So right here, we have about 9 participants from each team that will participate in this specific event. They can be chosen from anybody from the team, and then from there, they can work together to get through these obstacle courses.
One thing I want to point out is that this is the day 2 of activities. They had just finished the entire day of competition yesterday, including the final 8-mile ruck out. Now, their teams are dealing with fatigue and all sorts of injuries and stuff like that. How do you think they're going to get through this?
So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? So last night they completed the 8-mile ruck event. And so after that, they got here and they were able to rest and refit. They slept out in the bays at Camp Buckner. And I mean, from then on, it's really just finding that mental toughness and that grit to continue through the events of the day. So, I mean, they have to manage things like you said, fatigue, but then it's also hydration. But different members of the team are experiencing different levels of that physical fatigue. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think the teams will do well. It seems like they're adapting well to today. The weather's great out here. It's a little brisk, which is nice to cool them off. But then beyond that, I think they'll do good.
I think a real separation amongst the different competitors is how well they do today, because you can do really well when you're already hype jazz and all that kind of stuff. But after a full day of activity, this is where the true champions are going to show themselves at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the epitome of grit at West Point, and something that she really emphasizes as a brigade commander is Cadet Holland Pratt, right? We have Cadet Holland Pratt right here that's going to join us, and we're just going to ask you a couple questions. So, Holland, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Cadet Holland Pratt. I'm the brigade first captain, so I get the honor and privilege of serving the Corps and leading the Corps this year.
Right on, Holland. So what have you liked that you've seen out here at Sandhurst this year?
I think the biggest thing is grit, and it's not just individual grit, but grit as a team, having patience with one another, being able to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, and try to capitalize upon those strengths to make sure that you can cover down on where your team may be struggling through these really hard events.
So for the audience at home, and as just to reemphasize that this week, all leading up to Sandhurst was inspiration to serve. So we've been asking anyone that we're bringing on, Holland, what has inspired you to serve and why are you here?
I think initially what inspired me to serve in the Army is my own family's history of my grandma growing up in post-World War II Germany and the military helping her some hard times. But I think that purpose has changed over time as I've been here. You know, this morning I was talking with the Brigade S3, Travis Nichols, and the Brigade Sergeant Major, RJ Russell, and we were reminiscing about our time at West Point. And the one thing that we could all agree upon was the people. And it's really the soldiers here, the individuals that I get to work with every day that have inspired me to continue to serve in this profession and look forward to my future time in the Army.
Honestly, that's amazing. I really like how you talked about the team aspect of West Point. I mean, I think that is something that we definitely see out here being done with these teams that are competing. I mean, I have never personally done Sandhurst myself, but I know for you being out here, it probably reminds you a little bit of CFT. I know you were the CFT commander this summer, and we were talking a little earlier about the different obstacles here. So how does it feel being back here in the spot where, I feel like you really blossomed as a leader? How does that feel to be back?
It feels surreal, especially to know that the school year is almost over. Today marks 3 weeks until graduation. And so being able to be out here and seeing people go through the same challenges that our team went through this past summer and that the trainees went through, and then to see a lot of those same people back out here going through these same events, you can just see this cycle of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and understanding that once you've conquered a challenge, you can conquer it again and teach others to do the same who might not have those same experiences.
So, Holland, I know you've been walking around all over Sandhurst this past 2 days. What do you think has been your favorite event so far?
I would definitely say probably the gas mask run. You can see that everyone has already been absolutely just smoked over the course of the day. They just finished a physical exercise and then they get down and have to do that. That's a lot to ask of someone. So seeing the teams rally around one another and hone in on, hey, we can do this, and support the individuals who are really struggling. I mean, to me, that's the epitome of what it means to be gritty out here.
No, I love that. So Holland and I worked together this summer, and I know one of the things that you always said was rally grit. And so rallying grit is definitely something that we are seeing out here. Holland, I really appreciate your time today. I know you have 1,000 things to do and no time to do it. Is there anything you'd like to say before you walk off?
Just thank you all for tuning in and watching and supporting the Corps this weekend. Heaven knows we need it as we approach these last weeks. So hopefully we can continue to see people rallying grit out here.
Right on, Han. Really appreciate that. All right, have a good day. Appreciate you. You know, team, it's really good to get visitors like this, right? And I think cadets like Holland Pratt really emphasize the soldier scholarship of West Point and what we're going for. So Cadet Holland Pratt will next year be studying at Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. And even other members of the team that she was talking about, like RJ Russell, I believe he's going to medical school at Harvard. So I mean, we're soldiers, but then we're also scholars, and so that relationship that we balance as cadets is really amazing, and it's really great to see cadets go on and succeed on the next level like that.
So we're seeing, if you can, we're seeing some teams take on the Marne obstacle course right now as we're speaking, and to just see the level of fatigue on their faces as they're trudging up this hill, climbing over logs, swinging on ropes, and all this kind of stuff is just, it's an amazing thing to see. What, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, yeah, it's amazing things to see because I think this is really balancing physical execution, mental toughness, mental agility, but then also the safety aspect of it. So, I mean, following the teams, there's cadets with ACHs or helmets on, and they're acting as spotters, right? So as a team executes the events, they're watching each other. They're watching how their teammates to their left and right are doing, and then they're helping each other. And we've seen, we saw earlier today on the reverse climb, there were some teams earlier, and they were just, those that were tired, they were just grabbing them by the belt and like pulling them over the obstacle. So, I mean, it's really cool to see this teamwork aspect being done so early on day 2 of Sandhurst.
I think what's really separating teams is whether they distinguish between brute strength versus using some sort of strategy to get over things right now. So as you're seeing on the screen right now, there's a team going over the reverse climb. Now, teams can choose to do a brute strength mentality where they just get their team over and over the obstacles. But some teams are using a little bit of team strategy to get there, to leave someone at the top, to pull over some of maybe the more tired team members or the team members that are facing a little more injuries right now. And they're helping them out by grabbing them and legitimately getting them over. And other obstacles, they can choose to either jump over something, go under something, and it's all part of the squad leader's vision on how they want this team to go. And that's what makes this really interesting sort of competition, in that they're not just doing physical events. They have to think, and they have to think as a team to get through them.
And two, like, I mean, I just want to emphasize too, a lot of these cadet teams, how diverse they are, right? So we have cadets that have come from a wide backgrounds of majors, academic studies, but then also their interest in the Army, right? So highlighting this team right now, this is the D1 Ducks right there. I'm waving to him right now. We have Creighton Wise. He's from North Carolina, and he's going to be an infantry officer in the Army next year. Then we have Brandon Staten. He's going to be an air defense artillery officer, right? And he's from Texas. So I know all of you tuning in from Texas probably love to hear that. I mean, and so we have a wide skill set that's coming in, but still doing these hard physical competitions.
And it's pretty interesting how teams actually make up their Sandhurst teams. So Sandhurst is one of the options that you can choose from the many cadet intramural activities, including like flicker ball, I'm sure ultimate frisbee, basketball, and all that kind of stuff. And these cadets chose to take on probably one of the hardest cadet activities they have at this Corps. And they chose for themselves that they're going to commit to this spring competition, the fall competition, and full training schedule every single day of their cadet careers.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really cool too, because they're representing their companies in a very unique way, right? I mean, they're coming out here. The level of time and dedication that it takes to prepare for these Sandhurst events is somewhat surreal. And so the fact that they're coming out here, they're wearing their company patches, some of them on their right sleeve. So as we go through the events today, really watch for that. But I mean, it's really cool to see. And then just the companies come, support, and then embrace their company mates. I mean, it's really a competition that brings the Corps together. and a very unique way. And it's done every year. So it's cool to see that continuity for all you old grads out there. This is something that you can recognize from your cadet experience.
I think what's pretty cool is that we're seeing a lot of earlier today we saw UK and Germany teams, and we're seeing right now the Texas A&M team competing right now. We're seeing teams that probably never had like a true experience on the obstacle course really getting into it and really understanding how interesting it is to really take on an obstacle for the first time they're getting it done. Luckily, they're given a brief beforehand on some different events on the thing just to make sure that they understand it. And what you might not be seeing on screen, but we're seeing right now is legitimately team members grabbing other team members by the arms and pulling them up hills. And I think that is such a true like a true image of what Sandhurst is. They're literally carrying their team members through this insane physical event. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I really think this is kind of the embodiment of leadership too, right? Because leadership is easy to lead in easy situations, right? But then when you're down, you're dirty, everyone's tired. Like this is really when you start to see what your character is, which is a pillar that's very important at West Point, but then also how that leadership affects your other teammates. And while I say we see a lot of leadership from the Sandhurst team, we also see a lot from the cadet leadership. So we have a lot of leaders walking around right now, and it's called battlefield circulation. So they're going around, they're looking at the events, they're ensuring the safety of the lanes, and that also that everything is being properly executed. So I mean, it's really cool to see members of both cadet and officer leadership walking around, checking in on teams, making sure that they have everything, making sure that there's necessary water and all that, medical supplies, so that the teams can compete to the best of their abilities. And right behind us, you can see this team right here, Texas A&M, completing the reverse climb, and how much of a physical challenge it is, but still a team effort.
And they're staggering the way the teams are getting through this. They're trying to give enough time in between different things. But right on Texas A&M's tail is Team Poland, as they're trying to get up the hill, get to the Tarzan event so they can eventually get to the reverse climb, which I think is a pretty interesting aspect of this thing where you can't take too much time in between events. There's no rest between separate obstacles. Right after you hit one, you're going to the next event. And seeing the Team Poland coming up the hill right now, pushing their own team members up this, it's just a true embodiment of teamwork. And I like to go back to what Seth was saying on what leadership actually is. And seeing that we're seeing leaders going to the back of their formations, grabbing maybe the person that's injured, grabbing the person that's maybe just like a little tired, and legitimately almost carrying them up doing that. I think that's like a pretty cool aspect of what leadership is. They're not doing what's easy. What's easy is to get to the front, just focus on yourselves and get through the event. But instead, they're caring about their team members. They're making sure that they're getting through it. All of them are getting through it. And the competition emphasizes teamwork and emphasizes making sure that each person completes the activity. And that's what we're seeing highlighted here.
And two, I mean, going off of that leadership component, I'd say doing what's right. One thing that we like to say here a lot is choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. And so while the teams are going through these events, they have to do it properly and execute it in a manner that is in accordance with the grading standard, right? So the teams are not taking shortcuts. And while they're tired, while they're dirty and all this, especially the squad leaders, those are in charge of each team, have to ensure that their teammates, they're competing to the standard of the competition.
Look, as we're wrapping up our coverage of today's Marne obstacle course, right now you're seeing some pretty insane footage of the Polish team really getting through the final event. And look at the way they're celebrating at the bottom. Look at the way they're encouraging their own team members coming down. And I think and look at that. They just completed the Marne obstacle course. You can see on their faces how relieved they are.
And folks, I want to assure you, we listed off the top 5 teams that are going through, but it is still a very close competition and anybody can win, right? And so I want to make sure that you guys stay tuned in and keep watching the broadcast. Well, once again, you go to westpoint.edu/Sandhurst. You can backdrop and fill in on all the events happening yesterday, but then we will be back live again today at 1300. And so make sure you guys stay tuned.
All right, this is Sandhurst 2022. Thank you for tuning in.
Have a good one.